Nerd Morning, everyone. Today on the Nerd Morning Show, I am going to be talking about ways that we can protect our comic books and some of the common things that I've used that I felt have been really effective and useful, and maybe some of the reasons why I would use one versus another for different situations. So my name is Jeremy Miller, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So let's dive into this. First off, we need to talk about just kind of the integrity of a basic comic book. So really a comic book is a collection of pages that are bound together. They usually have a staple binding. This is called a saddle stitch binding. And just being paper and ink, and there's a couple of staples, these can be relatively fragile products. And so as we collect them and we read them and we try to enjoy them, being able to protect them, I think, is a really valuable and worthy investment. So some of the things that we can do are putting them in bags and boards. Now, I have a video about taping the comic books that I think is really useful about the ways that we can do that to make them most effective and to protect our bags and boards the best. So that's a video that I would recommend you guys checking out. And you have a lot of benefits for doing a bag and board for your comic. Most comic shops that have these that are available to sell, a pack of 100 bags and a pack of 100 boards together is probably going to run you about $15. But if you look at different comic book shops in your area, you might be able to find ones that do bags for free. I've actually found a shop that does both the bag and the board for free as a part of the purchase of the comic book. And I love that because that's a cost I just don't have to worry about, and I'm able to protect my books. So that's something, as you're looking at your different comic book shops that are local to you, that maybe you want to look into. I found that that is just an awesome benefit, and I am really loyal to that shop because they have that. I just think it's amazing, good service. So why do I think that these are so important? Well, one is that, if you're reading your comic book and you've got it out just kind of sitting on your desk like this open, and if you have water, coffee, some type of liquid, and it gets spilled onto the surface that your book is on, your book can be totally ruined. So that is a really bad thing to happen to a book. But if you put it in a plastic encasing, your book could be totally fine. I really do like and appreciate having my books taped down because, again, that limits the amount of exposure that can have. But really, the bags protect the book from water and dust and those type of elements. The board, I think, is really great because it protects the integrity of the book. It will help it so it doesn't get bent. Sometimes I've seen older books where they have the edges and they're curled. I see that actually quite a lot. But a board would help kind of that as it ages. Beyond that, if this thing gets dropped, I have this cardboard that is going to protect the edges so I don't get dings and dents from that. And I like it because these are a easy way to be able to get in and out of your comic book, because I reread my comic books and I like going back and enjoying them, and if I make it super hard for me to get into, I'm less likely to open it up and read it again. I feel like these, though, are not really the best to display. If I wanted to have this hung up, there are a lot of displays that will have little clamps, and I feel like that's going to bend into the book. And I don't know, and so if you're trying to display it, I don't think this is really the very best option. But if you're putting them on a bookshelf like I do, or in a comic book box like I do as well, this is a great, easy option for the majority of your books. So you have a book that's a little bit nicer, that you want to protect a little bit better. Maybe you want to display, but you still want to get in there and be able to read it on occasion. I think that top loaders are a really good option then. So what these are is they are a plastic casing that you slide into the top of your book. They are big enough that you can have a bag and a board. and you can put your book inside. So I have this really cool book that's autographed by one of my favorite comic book artists, and I really like it. I like to be able to have this up on display. I have it on a shelf, and I think it looks really cool, and I like this because it has added levels of protection. I can still get into it, I can still read the book, and I think that's a really good plus. And it has all the type of protections that the Bag and Board has, plus with this encasing of harder plastics, it protects it from scratches, from tears, other type of things that would be maybe a little bit more aggressive. I am going to have just that added level of protection. I really like these. These are a little bit more expensive. I would say usually you can find them in packs of like 5 or 10 at your comic book shop, but they're probably cost about $2 per single top loader item. So they are definitely a bit more expensive, but there are a lot of other more expensive choices, and I feel like this is pretty economical for this level of protection. So I really like that as an option. I think that we can go one more step level in our protection of our book, but it also comes with some limitations. And that is having our books rated and encased. So the main challenge and downside of this is once it's encased, it is encased. You cannot open it up. You cannot read it. So for me, I have Batman the Dark Knight series. This is the Dark Knight Returns issue number 2, Dark Knight Triumphant. And I love this story so much. So finding a CGC or getting a CGC rated book for me is to be able to display it. This is more an art piece at this point than it is necessarily a comic book, and I think a lot of people who have these just really like having them in their collection. They're amazing to display, they look really cool, and they're also really helpful to increase the value of your book, as well as to be able to assess the value of an older book that may be damaged, and if it's a more valuable item, the value of the book will shift and change depending on the quality of it. So getting it rated really helps to be able to suggest how much the book is really worth. I feel like those types of things are really useful inside of getting it rated. There's multiple rating companies and groups out there. This one just happens to be a CGC, which is probably one of the most common, but there are several other ones, and I'm favorable with most all of them. So a couple of other things that these type of encased things will offer is they will have a serial barcode. They will, in that, be something that's able to get searched and looked at. So if you were trying to resell a really valuable book and you got it rated, they would be able to look up and find a detailed list of the things that are involved with that particular copy, if it has any scratches, dents, dings, tears, or whatever. And those are easy for doing trades. So that's a really nice feature there. For me, I really like how it is able to protect a bit of history, and I really like this for being able to have something up and to be on a shelf being displayed. Now these are really easy for those type of displays that grab kind of from the top and the bottom. Most of them are designed to have a rated book size, and some of them of course can go lower for those top loaders as well, but they're really like designed for grabbing hold of these type of encased books. I really think that this is a cool option. Again, it does have the limitation of not being able to open up your book, so if it's something that you really want to be able to go back and read, that's not necessarily the best fit. But if it's something that's really valuable or really rare, something that you really like, maybe that really is. Again, I love that these I'm able to open up and able to display them. I think most cases this is your best way to go for most of your books. It's easy to get into, easy to get out, and easy to read. So that's a good level of protection on most of your books. But overall, I think that if you can, having them in some type of protection instead of out in the open is really the way to go. So those are my top recommendations for each of those kind of levels of protection, ones that I've used the most. If there are other ways that you guys have used to protect your books, let me know what's really worked well for you. I'd be interested to hear. So you can put that down in the comments below. That would be super awesome. Also, you guys can find me at Nerd Morning on Instagram, on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to see more videos with tips, tricks on comic books, and all other nerdy things. And thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.